Today, we're going to talk about POS systems. This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello everybody, I'm Jason Greenwood. Welcome to episode 56 of At the Coalface. This is the next part in our series about digital transformation and what it takes to digitally transform your business from the front office to the back office and everything in between. Basically every single customer touch point that you may have. In this episode, we're going to talk about the first system in the chain of systems that typically are required to run a business. In particular, an omni-channel business. So a business that sells through multiple channels, multiple devices, multiple locations, multiple regions, etc. And in this particular case, we're looking at an omni-channel system that is required for a retail store. And that is the POS, or Point of Sale Retail System. So typically, every single retail store will need a retail POS system. Now, this system may be a standalone system that's hosted internally within the particular shop. It's got its own computer system, etc. Maybe a cloud-based computer system whereby you're accessing it through a web browser. And it may be multi-location, i.e. you may have multiple retail store branches and you may need to have all of those branches either talking to a centralized mainframe server type system at head office level, or once again, if it's a cloud system, then each of those individual branches is connected to one central account for your entire company. But all of the sales need to be managed independently across each branch or each store, and they need to be accounted for in the general ledger in terms of sales by store, and you need to be able to track your performance by store, and you need to be able to do your reporting by store. And you also need to be able to receipt your products into your store, and you need to be able to obviously sell them back out again and track quantities. You need to be able to track price updates. You need to be able to track specials and promotions. You need to be able to track things like rewards points for if you run a loyalty program in store. And then you also need to be able to integrate that system, that retail store system, back into your back office system, such as your accounting package or your ERP, for all of your financial reporting and financial accounting. So this is a big subject, but we're going to distill it down to its most key component parts and some of the gotchas that you're going to need to look out for in terms of digitally transforming your business. If you're starting from scratch and you're either starting a brand new chain of retail stores, or you've already got a chain of retail stores and you're either looking to integrate an existing POS system into your back office, or you're looking to upgrade or replace your POS with a new POS system, and you're looking to either start from scratch or replace an existing system. So those are the two different scenarios we're talking about. We're talking about existing systems that may be already being used to run your individual stores, or you're looking at a new system, whether it be because you need a replacement system for an existing system, or you've got a brand new startup, you've got a brand new retail store, whether it be a new branch or an actual new business altogether, and it's your first branch, your first store, and you're exploring which POS system you should choose to run your business. Now, some of the key considerations that immediately come to mind when you're going through the search and select phase, so when you're looking to select a technology to deploy into retail store, there's a couple of key considerations that you want to have in mind. Now, one of these key considerations is, does it have connectivity out of the box to other systems that you use? And if it doesn't, how are you going to connect that POS system to your other systems? So there's generally three main ways of connecting digital systems together. That be through EDI, or electronic data interchange. It's a specific file format. It's a specific process and system for moving data between two disparate systems, but they speak the same language, known as EDI. There's also CSV, or file-based integration or connectivity, which means that one system will spit out a file of data, usually a CSV or an Excel type file. It will sit on a server somewhere to be picked up by a back office system and integrated back into financials or other systems. The final way is via API, and that stands for Application Programming Interface. And that is, once again, it's another language and another capability and another way. It's also known as web services. It's a way for connected online systems to talk to each other in a standardized format. API is now the most common way to connect systems together in an online connected systems world, And obviously, if you've got an API, or if it's got a fully featured and robust API, then your POS system will be infinitely more connectable to other systems and integratable to other systems than if it does not have an API. At the very, very least, it needs to be able to either communicate via EDI or spit out a CSV file of data, and also be able to pull in data via the same methodology from your other management systems within the business. So those are some key considerations. Another key consideration is that not all APIs are created equal. So there's different types of APIs, there's REST and SOAP, and I won't go into the great detail there. However, what is really, really important to consider is, does the API allow you to do all the same functions that you can do through the admin interface of your POS system? So if you can update rewards points balances for a customer in your rewards points system or program through the interface, through the computer interface, while you're standing there with the customer, can you also do that via the API? That's a real key consideration. Or can you do it via CSV file or EDI? So typically, there's differences. Even if a POS platform, or any connected platform for that matter, can integrate via the three main ways. If it can integrate via EDI, it can integrate via API, or it can integrate via direct file transfer. Typically, what can be integrated through those three different methodologies can differ. So don't make the mistake and the assumption that just because you can do something via the API, you can also do it via CSV file-based integration. So that's something that you'll need to check out very, very thoroughly, both before you select your POS system and also with your partner who's going to be doing your systems integration and connecting all of your internal systems together. You need to scope that together, and you'll need to make your decision on POS system in light of all of those necessary integrations. So don't go into rushing into a POS system and saying, I'll worry about integrating it later, because once a system is entrenched within your business, very, very difficult to replace it with another system and get your data migrated from the old system to the new system. So think about that holistically right up front. Even when you're thinking about just your POS in isolation to run your retail store, you need to think of it within the wider context of digital change within your business and how it's going to integrate either into existing back office systems or future back office systems that you may have in future to run your business. So those are a couple of key things to initially think about. Then you also need to think about the straight POS functionality itself. So right up front, what is the experience that it's going to provide both your staff members that need to service customers at the counter, and what kind of POS experience is it going to provide for your customers at the counter when they come up? It needs to be able to integrate into your standard payment systems. So typically your terminals, your payment, your FPOS terminals, your ATM terminals, whatever terminals, depending on what part of the world you live in and what part of the world your business operates in, you'll need to connect in payment terminals to that system, and it needs to be able to accept payments in an integrated way so that it can close off a transaction when a customer pays at the counter, either with a credit card, debit card, cash, etc., etc. So that's another key consideration. Does it integrate with all of the local terminal systems, the local payment systems that you want to integrate with to take card payments, for example, over the counter, or PayPal if you want to take payment over the counter? Will it integrate with PayPal terminals, Apple Pay, etc., etc.? So you need to think about all the payment methods you want to take. You need to work out exactly who you're going to use to process those payments and who's going to be providing your payment terminals. And then you need to make sure that that already pre-integrates with your POS system before you make a purchasing selection around your POS. Now the next thing, and another key consideration, is rewards program platforms. Now typically POS systems will be able to either integrate with external rewards points programs and platforms, or they will have their own rewards points management software built into the POS. And that means that you can define earning ratios, redemption ratios, etc., i.e. 1 point equals 1 cent or $1 or 50 cents or whatever the case may be, and then on the earning side, and then on the redemption side, I can redeem X points for X dollars or a discount or whatever it may be. Now there's also some other considerations around rewards programs. Does it have tiers, i.e. does it track lifetime spend or yearly spend, etc., and then move people up and down tiers based on that, and then they get different rewards based on their spend and commitment to your company. So typically, you'll have for example, a gold, silver, and a bronze tier of rewards, and if you spend over a certain amount with a year with a specific company, then you move up the tiers and you get additional rewards depending on what tier you happen to be in at the time. Now it's really, really important that your POS system, if you're going to be running independent loyalty programs in store and online, for example, very, very important that you can integrate those rewards points balances between the two systems so that when someone makes a purchase online, the rewards balance is synced between their online account and their in-store account, and vice versa. So when they make a purchase in store and they earn rewards, that those rewards are immediately available via integration to your online store as well. So they have that seamless omni-channel experience. Now that integration needs to be able to be in near real time, because you don't want customers to be able to redeem rewards points in store and online at the same time, or in even within a few minutes of each other. If your integration sync of rewards points happens over every half an hour, for example, then what that means is someone could come in store, they could redeem the points in store, and then they could immediately jump on their smartphone within 5 minutes of leaving the shop. They could go online, those rewards would still be available online, and then they'd be able to dual redeem them and then redeem them again online, effectively costing you 2 lots of rewards points. So that's why API level integration of rewards points balances becomes ever more critical. And when you think of integrated systems, sometimes there are extra considerations. So I know of one POS system in particular that you must create a transaction in order to adjust a rewards points balance up or down via integration. So that means if you want to integrate this particular POS with your offline experience, in-store experience, and your website experience, what that means is that during the integration process, if one of your customers earns rewards online and that changes their rewards points balance to the positive, then in the integration process of pushing those rewards down to your POS system, you actually have to create a $0 transaction to be able to even update those rewards points balances against that customer account. So there's tons of little gotchas like that, and so it's worth exploring in detail what functionality your POS system has before you make that final selection and deploy that POS system. Does it have connectivity? So in other words, does it have an open and robust API that allows you to adjust all the various different data points within the system via API updates? Does it allow you, barring that, does it allow you to push updates in and out via CSV file, or barring that, EDI, which is a little bit further down the chain. EDI is a last resort because EDI is complex and it requires special integration middleware to allow that to function properly. API is typically the first choice. RESTful API, which is once again a little bit of technical jargon, but it is the easiest API typically to integrate with nowadays, because most major enterprise systems have a REST API that allows easy integration to those back office systems. So those are some of the key considerations I would think of when I was looking at deploying or redeploying for the first time a POS system for my retail store, and I was looking to digitally transform my business and make it easy to create a seamless omni-channel experience through all of my touch points, including POS. Those are some of the key considerations when you're looking to select a POS. I would look to, typically my number one recommendation would be look to cloud first for any POS solution. So if you need to house software, if you need a mainframe at your head office, or you need a computer or a server at your head office that all your individual stores have to integrate back to at the end of the day in a batch run or something like that, and it's not real time, typically that's a really painful way to go. Alternatively, if you've got individual software that has to be installed at each store on a computer system that then requires special hardware to integrate with, and then it has to integrate somehow back to either a head office or the mainframe that the vendor provides. Once again, not the best, not the most seamless POS system, and probably one of the more difficult ways you're going to have to integrate with your other systems. So my suggestion would always be to look cloud first. Down in this part of the world, down here in Australia and New Zealand, Vend, V-E-N-D, is a very popular cloud/SaaS-based POS solution. It does have a robust API. It's got its own series of gotchas, but certainly it's a very, very popular POS system and growing very rapidly, not just down in this part of the world, but around the rest of the world, because it is fully featured, it is robust, and it's fully accessible just through a web browser. And so that means that each store gets assigned a store ID, and effectively it gets its own set of accounts, and it gets its own logins, and it gets its own permissions at the store level. Makes it much, much easier to control what happens at the store level, but all of the hosting and all of the software and all of the updates and all the security and everything is Vend's responsibility, and each store simply accesses their account within Vend directly online through a web browser using any device that has a web browser, including a tablet, a computer, whatever the case may be. So definitely some of the things that you'll want to consider. I found in my experience, my 15 years working in digital, that POS systems are some of the most difficult systems to integrate with other systems, simply because most POS systems are very proprietary. They don't interoperate easily or well with many other systems, and so you can be in a place of lock-in with those systems, and very difficult to get data in, very difficult to get data out of those POS systems. Although there's been a gradual migration away from that kind of proprietary approach to POS over the last few years, and most POS systems nowadays either have an API or have an API coming that will allow you to connect into and out of those systems. So hopefully this information has been helpful. We'll jump onto some other systems in future episodes around this digital transformation mini-series within At the Coalface, and hopefully you find it helpful, hopefully you find it useful, and if you've got any questions, feel free to let me know. Cheers, guys.